What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology, the Titans action. I tell you what, I cannot wait to say retold action. That is just that's gonna be epic. It's the first time I do that. Oh, it's gonna be a fun time. That is for sure. Sporting on the top side of the map in the green color, playing as Thor. It's Mr. Clean himself, Mr. F2 Squash. His partner today in the teal color, hailing from Turkey, playing as Zeus. His name is AC the Great. Now, this shall not be confused as Army Corps. Army Corps, AC the Great, two different people. Army Corps from Canada, AC the Great from Turkey. I said it. Now, the YouTube comments need to all right. Opponents today in, let's say, the red color, playing as Gaia. His name is Nullus, and his partner today in the blue color with the fancy, fresh Gaia forest here, playing as Hades. His name is Player. The map is Tundra, and yes, this is a 2v2. We are very excited. I say we, because I'm including you, because you should be excited, because there is a 3v3 clan tournament that is about to start. It starts on, I believe, the 6th of December. And I'm not going to lie, there are some ridiculously strong teams in this tournament. And also, a little secret, the Mister might be playing a game or two. He's subbing for one of the teams. He might play, he might not play, but he might play. All right, now that excitement is out of the way, let's talk about what we might be seeing in this game. We've got Player as Hades and Nullus as Gaia, two incredibly defensive gods. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an attempt at two-town center and just defend gameplay here from these two players. Alternatively, there are some really, really good options for one town center aggro here for Hades and Gaia as well. So we'll go into that shortly. But you do have to remember that you're playing against Thor and you're playing against Zeus. So the Thor player here, if he notices against Gaia, which he does because he's seen the blue Hades here, he might want to consider going for City in this matchup. And I'll tell you why. There's a build order or a build that is very, very annoying to play against as Thor against Gaia, and that build is basically it's a god power. That god power is the spider layer god power. Not only that, also mass automatons are very tough to deal with if you go through Freya. Now, all that being said, if you go through City, you can actually do a Loki-esque game plan, except what the idea is that you want to grab a second town center and play defensively, and you are playing towards Ragnarok with that game plan, but it does allow you to move freely around the map, hit some raids, defend nicely. Can be very, very good against Gaia. So we'll see if that's what Squash is doing, and it's not. He's going through Freya, so we'll see how he's going to be able to deal with what Nullus is going to have as an option here, as we do see probably no surprises over here. AC the Great going to get out an early Jason here, going to be advancing through Hermes. No surprises there. And TSM player is Hades. He's going to be going through Athena. Very, very exciting. So Athena on the way for Player. It looks to me, he's got a lot of villagers on wood, not many on gold. A little bit surprising considering he's against Zeus. Most Greek players are going to town center against Zeus here, especially if you scout the temple and you see a handful of villagers on this. So it looks to me like TSM player is going to be going one town center gameplay, whether he's going to go for like Hoplite Toxote or Hippocon Toxote or Mass Hippocon or Mass Toxote Minotaur or something crazy. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But first and foremost, I believe Squash was advancing pretty quick here. So he's getting out his Ox Cart, getting out his Dwarven Gold Mine. Now, I do feel like if you're going to be going from advances like 420-ish for Thor, there's no point in casting Dwarven Gold Mine early. I don't feel like you get enough of an advantage by doing this. If you go for a sub 4 minute advance time with Thor while casting the Dwarven Gold Mine, I think that's when it starts being worthwhile doing, because you can get some early pressure onto your opponent. As we see the Longhouse coming up here, a secondary one will come down fairly soon, and we'll see what this Valkyrie is going to be getting up to over here, as we do see a Hersa coming over here to start whacking Nullus's citizen, as an automaton coming over here immediately gets retasked onto that automaton. If you're this automaton, run towards your base, my friend, because that way you might be able to repair back up said automaton here, as the villagers are going to be just dancing around for the time being. Here is now a Valkyrie coming in for Squash. This early pressure that Squash is mounting right now is making a big case for the 420 advance time, doing a lot of damage to Nullus, as Nullus is getting himself out his Murmillo and his Terma here, and he's in a big trouble here, it would seem, as these villagers have to keep on darting in and out of this manor over here. Meanwhile, on this location here, we do see the Ajax, the Ajax and the Minotaur out. Was that a bolt there from AC the Great? Yeah, he probably bolted the Chiron, I would assume, as TSM player is going to have to rebuild that one. He's got 4 favor though, and it does look like we are seeing TSM player going for Hippocon. Hippocon, the unit of choice here, as the Valkyrie pushing around here, going to start targeting down the Centaur and doing everything that it can here, as they're going to be fine here, as we see the Centaur getting targeted down just a little. I'm not sure why AC the Great is trying to target down Nullus's citizens here. It's very, very difficult to utilize the Centaurs here against a Gaia who's got out some potential heroes. But it does look like Nullus has managed to maintain his citizen shenanigans over here. Thank you for the 17-month Shalky. Appreciate you, my friend. Apparently, I have 1,400 real rating. Now, that hurts. That hurts. That means I'm a completely brand new player. And I feel like I'm not, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, on this location, we see the units continuing to push in. Now, there is like a bit of a timing, which Athena Hippocon does have against the Centaur. The Centaur kind of start being a little bit pesky once they get four Centaur out. If you can start putting pressure on before 4 Centaur come out, it can be a little bit better, because if you do 4 special attacks with those Centaur against a Hippocon, you actually one-hit the Hippocon. So you can just keep on putting pressure onto your opponent and not letting them move around the map too easily. So, for example, if AC the Great now moves in with these 4 Centaur, moves in, snipes down this Hippocon, snipes down this Hippocon every 20 seconds. It's very, very strong here. I think it's 4. It does 50 pierce damage. The Hippocon has got itself 25% pierce. 25% pierce. Takes 50 damage down to about 33 or 40. That's probably going to be roughly 150. It's my, oh, it's just under. Just under killing a Hippocon. But basically kills off a Hippocon. 5 is correct. Basically kills off a Hippocon. Close enough. Anyways, point is, Centaur strong. Hippocon sad. If there's lots of Centaur here. Anyways, TSM player still on the back foot. We are seeing Squash coming over here to try and take out the Chiron here. That's a pretty brutal play. Nice play by Squash, but he does unfortunately miss that Chiron there. As this double comes in, the Centaur pushing forward, going to start trying to take out these Hippocon pretty nicely, but looks like the Ajax goes down, and these Hippocon have to get back. Meanwhile, Squash pushing in, going to try and take down TSM players, villagers here, as the red units are currently on the gold of Squash. He manages to take down 2 dwarves while this is going on. Going to continue to move around. Squash has to retreat his villagers as he's being very aggressive. TSM player forced to cast his restoration on this fight, but that's not going to be enough to win the fight. Just keeping his units alive. We are seeing Squash retreating back ever so slightly here as the Centaur pushing, going to start taking down these Hippocon fast yet again as the Chiron goes down, and now there's no answer for Centaur Polemark in this fight. We've got 5 villagers left over here as well as the Centaur retreat back. We are seeing, while this is going on, tons of Hades Shades coming through for player, but He is hurting a lot here after that double. Meanwhile, in this position, we do see a villager going down as TSM player does manage to get a slight raid onto this position. AC the Great not microing his villagers at all here, able to actually deal with what TSM player has done a little bit too easily there, I would say, as the Hippocon over here going to be retreating away. The units coming in now from Nullus going to be looking for some villagers to kill, as we do see the villagers have been spotted there, but Nullus is not paying attention. He sees the storehouse. Will he move over there is the big question, or not, as these Centaur now going to town on Nullus's Murmillo heroes, as he's not really paying attention. He's making the Murmillo heroes, though, try and take down these Centaur, and it does look like Nullus did miss those villagers that are over there. There is potentially some villagers over here, not anymore, as the raiding cavalry retreating back for Squash, going to clean up these Terma very, very easily here, I would assume. Thank you for the Prime Cypher. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for supporting. Gaia Forest getting cast now as Nullus is continuing to motor ahead. Let's check out the upgrades. He does already have himself irrigation, and this is the big advantage of Gaia, just in general in team games, is that you don't need to hunt. You can just, if you just grab a little bit of hunt, come back home, get yourself up to flood control farms, and then your villagers are going to be living the dream, and you can just raise mythic age and stuff like that off of one town center, off of two town centers. Things like that can be really, really strong, as these Terma are still getting chased down. They will spot these villagers over here as more raiders going to come in and try and surround these Gaia units. Gaia units very slow compared to the speedy raiders that Squash has constructed here for Thor, and they can go up to 6.6 speed and be even more scary. As AC the Great right now, he's playing a little bit too defensive for my liking. He's got himself 6 Centaur. There's plenty of places at which TSM player has got very, very open economy over here, like these villages there, these villages here, these units over here as well, as the Hippocon do come in here. Nice micro there from AC, keeping his villagers away from the Hippocon nicely, as TSM player going to be retreating back when the Hippocon come through. Meanwhile, we do see the spider lair coming in, as one or two of these raiders definitely going to be going down. We do see some catapulties out here. Catapulties, definitely a good counter cavalry unit, to say the very least. I believe it's the strongest counter cavalry unit in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've been wrong once. I'll be wrong again. As the units are pushing in here now for Squash, looking for something to attack. It's not really a whole lot to attack in the Gaia's base, and maybe we'll see watchtowers coming through. Do we see the upgrade? No flood control just yet for Nullus. He does have the resources for it, which makes me a bit angry that he hasn't researched it. It's only 10%, but it's 10%. It's good. Because now the Squash Raiders moving around. There are these villagers over there that are just getting away with a murder at this point. As Squash moving in to it's a TSM player's base. It's basically going to have to cast the town bell here, because these villagers are going to get absolutely massacred if TSM player is not paying attention. As a couple of them retreating back, player trying to micro to the best of his ability to keep these villagers alive, but he does lose 2 or 3 already here. As TSM player going to be retreating back with his Hippocon over here. We see some attacks on this position. These villagers here very, very naked, as we do see some Olsarks out for Squash already, as he's actually now got himself a very early second town center. As Squash is going to be motoring ahead in this game. Dwarves coming out over there. Villagers out over here. He's got the farms positioned nicely in his base. See these Hippocon just basically distracting for the time being, retreating away from those scary infantry units that are just way too slow. And these Centaur now moving through here, going to be looking for something to take out. There's plenty of potential here to snipe villagers at this point in the game, because there's so many of them. So you can push in and grab a citizen kill or something like that. As these raiders just coming in a little bit too greedy here, as watchtowers are up. No crenellations though. Squash about to be able to advance to the next age, as maybe he doesn't care so much about those raiders at this point, just enjoying the defensive ability that he's got. Going to be able to go up through Scardy here. He wanted to research Masons for some reason. Maybe he'll get it out of this town center just to be safe against potential like earthquakes or something like that. Meanwhile, AC the Great here, he's still low resources, low villages. The raiders coming in from TSM player onto this gold line here, as AC's not paying attention. He loses 2 villages here. Maybe 3 villages, as the raiders coming in here for Squash to defend themselves. Meanwhile, on this position here, we do have those Centaur can take out these infantry units very, very easily if you micro them just a little bit. I believe it's 3-ish take down a catapulti, or maybe 3 take down a catapulti. So you have to counter. You have to count your Centaur and make sure that you're not overkilling too many units with them, as the Hippocon retreat back here. Meanwhile, these Hippocon have done their dues and are getting told you may not hang around any longer, as the Squash village is retreating back. Does he have room for more farms? Yes, he does, but maybe he wants to put these onto gold or something and get all that gold income. Right now, the upgrade's looking a little bit bare for Squash, but he's got plenty of economy coming his way right now, as he's just hit the heroic age. He can get himself this upgrade in the ox cart called I should probably click the ox cart called Winter Harvest. 20% extra food gather rate plus irrigation, an extra 10% food gather rate. Absolutely huge. But right now, the awareness from Squash and AC the Great to work as a team here to deal with the enemy units is really, really nice. But he's kind of baited in his teammate, or their teammates are baited in each other, as Nullus and player also manage to get in here. As AC's retreating back home as best as he can. He manages to keep everything alive. AC's retreating over here as well. Raiders bumping it just a little bit too much here, as we almost see this Centaur going down. It's kind of getting left in the back, as it does manage to retreat out of here and get back to safety. And now we see Jason coming out. Do we see any attempt at the next age for any of these players? Nullus just about to advance. TSM player just about to advance as well, as we do see Aphrodite. Yet again, we're seeing TSM player favor not go Apollo after it's been told to us so often in the Twitch chat that Apollo is the best Underworld. You always want to use Underworld. As we do see Chaos being... Chaos? Who has Chaos? Huh? Who has Chaos? This turned... Oh, it was Trader. I was like, it turns to Gaia. It didn't turn to Gaia. It lost Sylvan Law and turned to red. That's what happened there. I'm just a big confused human here. Anyways, we do see Squash get... Squash is at 4 down centers. When did that happen? As the palace goes down, Nullus' palace goes down, and Squash is just absolutely insane right now. Powering out the villages. He still hasn't got any more economic upgrades up, but he's on 4 town centers right now. This is going to be a very, very tough Ragnarok to... to defend here, as Squash is pushing. His score is ridiculously far ahead. He still has the frost here. He still has the forest fire as well to open everything up. And we'll see how it's all going to go, as AC is trying to defend over here. Squash is here to help out, as we do see a curse getting dropped on this location here, as see ourselves 8 little piggies come Squash's way. Maybe he'll eat those up, or maybe he'll just leave them there. Who knows? Anyways, Raid's still pushing in. We see this palace over here coming through. Nullus pretty aware that there is a potential for a Ragnarok, and he goes for an early Hecate here off of 2 town centers with Palace. This is actually the right way to play it, because what you want to do is pump Palace onto Goldmine and make Fanatics to deal with what the Ragnarok is. And when the Ragnarok comes, you can get your upgrades then. But you definitely want to get the Fanatics out and make sure you got a really, really strong army here. As the Lampady unfortunately doesn't hit that Frost Giant, the Squash has to retreat back here. We do see the Tartarian Gate does get used there onto Squash's base, hitting a couple of those farming villages, slowing the economy down ever so slightly. Meanwhile, we've got a Behemoth attacking this town center over here. And everything else is going swimmingly. The other way to play it, though, obviously, for Nullus is to go for Implode to give yourself a little bit of leeway, a little bit of defense with the implode, but it doesn't work so well. Doesn't work so well at all. Anyway, TSM player now up to 3 town centers over here, as he's looking like he's in a very good position against AC the Great. So to me, this looks like a deal where, while Nullus is technically ahead right now, Squash is already going to be going to the Mythic Age very shortly. I would love to see a couple of trade caravans getting built here. His food is coming up very fast. And he's going to be going Rag. So he does cast the Frost on this position to hold the town center for just ever so slightly longer, getting himself through Balder on this town center, getting the Masons research. I love to see like everything else coming through as well, fortified town centers and all that other good stuff. Casting Ragnarok straight away isn't necessarily the most important thing, but it might be a good idea. Meanwhile, we see these raids still coming through for AC the Great here, as TSM play gets a little bit caught out. The wall's not quite up yet, as the Chiron pushing these Centaur away, and TSM players still looking for raids over here. The gold villages for AC the Great are nowhere to be found at this point. He's moving up onto this gold mine, as TSM player hits a very early Artemis here in this game, sacrificing these 2 Hippocon to the gods to cast Earthquake onto this location here. We'll see if it's going to take the town center down. That's a lot of houses that got picked off, as the town center is left with 66 HP. Ladies and gentlemen, we see ceasefire cast. The town center lives. This town center lives. And TSM player is going to be very upset about that one. He did manage to pick off most of the houses, but absolutely insane nonetheless here, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting to see some barracks coming up in the middle of the map. TSM player is going to easily get himself 4-2 town center advantage here. He's got himself the Chimera coming out here as well, as Squash's Balder just about to hit. How are the upgrades going? Fairly lackluster, but unlike every other Norse player in the world, Squash actually building some Ox Caravans here. He's already got out a handful. Ox Caravans good. Always get them. You probably even want to consider deleting a handful of these military units here in order to make a couple more Ox Caravans. And I actually think that's exactly what Squash did. He just deleted a unit. He's like, I'm on full population. Let me get a couple more. Let me get a couple more out before I hit the Ragnarok. We do see ourselves already with champion Miller. You definitely want to get yourself your armor upgrades, as we see a 356 population Ragnarok. Absolutely insane here for Squash. We'll see what he's going to do with it. Meanwhile, over here on this position, the Rag hero is going to be defending this push here to allow AC the Great to get himself this gold here. The Centaur coming in to help out all those units getting cleaned here, as Squash is going to be moving around the map with all of his heroes of Ragnarok looking for somewhere to attack here. As Nullus is just sitting back here doing his darndest to defend. Those fanatics are out. I still wish that Nullus had himself like copper mail here. He's moving the fanatics out, trying to push this position, but he should be sitting here underneath the palace in this position right now. There's now Squash or AC pushing in onto TSM players. Base here taking out a couple of those Hypaspis and everything else. We see the Chimera here swinging around, going to take out those hoplites and everything else here, as now we see some more heroes of Ragnarok moving in onto this position. We see over here these buildings getting taken down. Palace does have itself just one upgrade, and there's that 21-minute forest fire, ladies and gentlemen, opening up the base of Nullus. But Nullus is playing this one right. He's got himself 3 palace here. He's got himself tons of champion fanatics. If you actually look at the damage, 14 damage, 100% bonus damage. So they're doing 28 damage per second against these Heroes of Ragnarok, which do 16.5 damage per second. They've got 174 HP versus 156 HP. So in every one of these stats, basically, that has better. It's just the hack damage that they're not quite better here, as we do see the Fire Giant getting traded, immediately going to get taken down, but at least his fanatics are going to be completely fine here. as the pacifist over here by TSM player going to be attempting to hold on to this position here. Meanwhile, this location getting cleaned up as well as AC the Great's able to deal with that one. But we'll see if Nullus can repopulate here. Checking out Squash's perspective, 264 population remaining, still has tons here. As the Squash units pushing through here as best as they possibly can. The barracks up, the villagers getting taken out as they're trying to retreat. This is one weakness of having to play farms with Gaia in the early game, is you want to build your farms in your base, but also you don't want to build your farms in the base because you're going to eventually lose this town center, and you want to be farming later in the game. So funnily enough, it might be worthwhile putting your farms in a really weird position here. Anyways, here's a Ragnarok pushing over here. We do see that the AC the Great units, they need to be being aggressive right now. He needs to be finding something to attack, while TSM player and Nullus are both dealing with this gigantic Ragnarok. AC the Great needs to be doing something with his army, and he's now moving in, starting to take this target this town center. He doesn't really have enough units to kill this town center off. The places to attack are like here or here. He is looking for raids with his centaur though, so at least that's half decent. As now Squash has to retreat back. His population is starting to look very, very low here as his villagers coming through. He's got tons of resources in the bank. He's got 4 town centers to build villages from. So he's going to repopulate in like 2 or 3 minutes here. So 5 production facility at about 15 seconds per villager. You do the math. I can't do the math. I could try and do the math, but it would be embarrassing for everyone. My guess is around about 3 minutes and you're at 60 villages. That's my guess. As these citizens over here do get spotted by AC, going to take them down, going to be a big help. As that's down there, we do see the centaur coming over here, going to snipe down a Toxodian or 2 here as the fortress coming up on this position. These citizens going to be getting taken out here as the AC Manticore coming in to help out, and Nullus going to be kicking himself for walking all the way over to that location, as the Heroes of Ragnarok from Squash have worked out another weakness in TSM player's position here. He's going to come in and take out some of these buildings and maybe the town center and everything else, try and move in and help AC the Great just a little bit more here. As the units swing in to take that as best as they possibly can here. As now we see the Fanatics moving over here as well to defend both. Well, Nullus is now getting his town center back. He's going to have access to these farms again, but he does still have to work out how he's going to get this town center back. Squash now 16 villages on food. Does he have upgrades? He does have winter harvest, so his farming economy is going to be huge. Does he have himself irrigation? No irrigation just yet, but it's not that important. As the town center over here going to be getting taken down. Yes, it is wine day as well, ladies and gentlemen, so that's why maybe I'm a bit strange. Anyway, I'm always a bit strange, but that's life. So town center goes down. Fortresses are up for AC. You see the Metropolis getting taken out here. As the donkey caravans doing their thing. Meanwhile, another trader getting used there on the fire giant as Nullus is trying to push through here. These frost giants are going to be going to town though, as we do need to see some hero champion destroyers or something to defend this location, but it looks like they're not quite strong enough here as Nullus has to retreat back. Now we see these fortresses that were once set up by AC the Great getting torn down by TSM player, who is furious that he's lost his town center to such a weak attack. He's going to be coming back to grab this as soon as he can. Squash still pumping out everything that he needs, getting his villagers, getting his dwarves. In order to support all of his town centers, he needs something like 20 villages or 25 villages on food, which he now has. So he's going to be getting that economy back into gear very, very shortly, and has managed to keep control of his town centers. But the question is, did he do enough damage? Did AC the Great and Squash do enough damage to TSM player that AC the Great can continue to hold against TSM player here, as the villagers pushing forward? And Toxodi is going to be firing back as best as they possibly can here. Thank you so much for the 11 months, my friend. Almost a year. My cat, that's me. Time does fly. I appreciate you hanging out with me for this long. It's such a beautiful thing. Appreciate you, my friend. As TSM player now pushing forward and trying to take out this town center and get it for himself here. Meanwhile, we are still seeing these Heroes of Ragnarok getting some value, targeting down random buildings, doing everything they can here, as Nullus trying to push through. Now, we do have to remember that while Norse can deal with it, the strong composition in the late game for Atlantean against Norse does include Fnatic Arcus, and that's kind of what Nullus is gearing up to. As he's got all the palaces up, his economy is probably pretty decent. He's still building the villages here. As he's going to be, he's trying to push. He's got 106 of 140 population. Most of his villages look like they have been taken down. How much economy does TSM player have is the big question. If I'm TSM player here, you got to be giving food over to Nullus to help him out at this point, as the village is getting pulled back. Those Heroes of Ragnarok looking for something to take out, as now TSM player pushing in to AC the Great's base here, going to be looking to grab this or take down this town center as best as he can. The Heracles popping out of here, as the Odysseus doing everything he possibly can. Now the villagers coming out here to take out these Heliopoli. Remember, the villagers do get a bonus against siege, but these Heliopoli do have like 650 HP, so they take a long time to get taken out. But it looks like TSM player doesn't have the units just yet to do all too much there, as he's currently had some issues with his economy. He did have a lot of food and gold for a second there, but it looks like he's spent that now, as we do see Squash moving around here. Alright, we see these shades getting dealt with and all the other good stuff. Meanwhile, Heliopolis retreating back ever so slightly here, as TSM player is still not able to break through. But while this is all going on, our beautiful Lampede work here from Nullus, hitting those Fire Giant as best as he possibly can. As the Fire Giant here are the most vital part of what Squash is trying to create to push past Nullus. If the Fire Giant can stay alive and deal with those Lampedes, then these Fnatic Arcus ball not that important. But if the Lampedes can take the Fire Giant down, then it's really hard for the Thor player to make any ground. And in fact, they probably will lose even up to 4-2 town centers against this composition, as we do see more Lampede coming in to hit Squash over here. Squash is still busy with his Heroes of Ragnarok on this location over here, as those Fire Giants on the retreat path. But guess what? 4.3 speed Lampedes, 2 speedy here. They will be able to catch up. 1 Fire Giant gets converted, 2 Fire Giants get converted. Absolutely huge there for Nullus. The next thing to do with these Lampedes is just run them in and bomb onto those units and use some of that special ability there, as now Nullus here. Or sorry, not Nullus. Now player here is ready to start pushing back. We do see the Colossus in for AC the Great, as he has managed to get to the heroic age. He's trying to get everything sorted out in his base. He doesn't have too much of an economy here. Hand axe and everything else over there. Hand axe and quarry, missing out on those very important wood upgrades here in this game. As we're still seeing more and more of these trade caravans being produced here for Squash. Now, a lot of players go, how many villages is the prime amount of villages to build in a game? When should I stop building villages? And honestly, the answer for nearly every civilization is you stop building villages when you have all of your economic, or all of your armory upgrades, all of your line upgrades. And then once you have all of those, then you can sacrifice your villages down to however many you need to support the amount of trading that's going on. So that might be 60, that might be 80, that might be 40. It depends on the situation, right? So, and then it can continually float up and down between 40 and 60 if you ever so choose, or 40 and 80 or whatever. That's kind of how that sort of shenanigans goes. Meanwhile, we are seeing, sneaky side builds now coming in by Squash. This is the big benefit of Norse in the late game, especially in team games, but also, as we are seeing a little bit of tribute action coming in, but also Norse in 1v1s is definitely possible as well. But these side builds can be very cheeky, take out trade routes, cause so much mischief. Very tough to deal with all of that there, as the Fire Giants take out this Lampede here as well. Nice play there. And Nullus is still trying to push in. He needs to get some like towers and pallets and start pushing through here if he wants to make any ground on this position, as these Ulfsark looking for some more action in on this position here. We see another longhouse coming up, not just yet, and Squashed a little bit too distracted, it would seem, as player still trying to push in with these Heliopoli. He is managing now to start getting his fortress up. I feel like a wall here would go a long way with some towers behind it, and then some Petropolis here would guarantee taking this town center down. But he's not going for it just yet. More resources being tributed over to AC the Great, as he needs to start getting those upgrades out. Another reason in a team game even to go even higher than that villager population is to help out your teammate who might be behind, to get their tech caught up. We do indeed see this town center going down, but TSM player loses a lot of Heliopoli for it, and I'm sure AC the Great's going to immediately attempt to get that one back, as we do see some Havaspis coming through for player. He's going to be furiously searching for these longhouses to take those down. And one thing you could think about doing here is just walling up every single choke point back here. If you're squashed with all those Ulfsark, it's not a bad idea at all. As now Squash is ever so slowly pushing through this location, going to look to try and take down this town center, it would seem here. There's random raids coming from DSM player. This town center has been denied here, as he's making a very nice slow push here, especially with a forward temple. Is he going to be going for Chimera at this point? How much favor does TSM player have? He's got 28, lots of gold, a little bit of gold in the bank. He does have the trade route going, so Chimera going to be able to come out of that temple and help out just a little bit there, as Nullus is still happily mining on that gold mine. He does have these speedy llama caravans. Little known fact is that coinage plus, he doesn't have it though. Coinage plus what's it called? I can't remember the upgrade. Any Gaia mains in the house? Channels. Channels. Coinage plus channels do stack, so you need to get that as Gaia. It's a big reason why Gaia's late game economy allows, well, it's the big reason why Gaia can actually compete against every civilization in the late game, is because of that bonus 20% gold, meaning you don't need as many villagers to maintain all the production that you need, and you can take more villagers to be aggressive, to build buildings and things like that. So that example is like if you have channels and you have 20 caravans, that's like you have 24 caravans or something like that. So that can be a fairly big deal, as TSM player almost breaking through on this location. He's got towers coming up. We do see Heliopoli coming out for AC the Great, as it looks like his economy is kind of starting to settle here. He's almost got full iron. He's got his town center back. His Heliopoli are popping out. And TSM player, he's got the position now though. He just has to try and hold on to it. The big thing about the late game is you don't really want to make archers unless you've got kind of Petropolis to defend of everything. I don't even know when you want to build archers. There was a time where I thought towers, archers, Petropolis was the best late game comp, but then I think, well, maybe Heliopoli, Hoplite is the best comp that you can go for, making Heliopoli, Hoplite, or Hapaspist or something like that. Very strong in of its own right. Kind of don't have to micro at all. We do see these Ulfsark now coming onto this position, taking down the villages over here. Longhouses getting dropped. We even see a hill fort over here by Squash, as these towers will do amazing amounts of damage in this position if they can get up to the trade route. I mean, the trade route's kind of on the bottom, but this is going to allow Squash to move in here if he can get these up. But the Hapaspis coming through for TSM player, and that's going to allow AC the Great to push back very fast. And he's got himself 5 siege weapons out here. So this is going to be a Blitzkrieg-esque push here from AC the Great, as Squash's deflection tactics going very well here. Meanwhile, Squash still not able to push through on this position. Still very, very tough to make any ground here as the Ballista getting some good damage done from afar, but he's just not making any ground. And Nullus can technically defend here indefinitely, as we do see a stray Pegasus coming through for AC the Great. Does he have Underworld? AC the Great has Underworld, so he can push in here and hit this location if he so chooses. If he so chooses. As the Bellerophon coming through. We've even got some gas graffiti coming in here for player, but they're running straight past those Heliopoli and they're going to get picked off immediately. Gas graffiti, they're the fastest siege weapon, I believe, in the game at 3.99 speed. Technically an archer, but I consider them to be a siege weapon because they can't be garrisoned. Therefore, siege weapon, right? Anyways, you see the military academies getting taken down as AC the Great trying to push forward here. Squash here, still 180 of 180 population, still doing good. He might want to start thinking about trimming that economy, but I feel like Squash thinks that he needs to prop up Ace of the Great still to keep him able to push forward. But this is really slowing Squash down by having himself 46 food, 34 gold, full upgrades, pretty much at full upgrades are in. Trade route is all settled. It is time to start trimming that food down and start getting some extra village Allsarks in to build buildings and stuff on the front here, as Fire Giants are still continuously getting converted here. As in the 36th minute of the game, the Underworld comes in onto this position and AC says, bye-bye Town Center, bye-bye game. No way to stop that without it being completely covered in Gaia lights, which probably should have happened, but nonetheless, GG, well played by Squash and AC the Great. Beautiful Ragnarok, beautiful Thor gameplay here, showing some very, very difficult things to deal with. I think potentially player could have thought about earthquaking over here onto Squash instead of onto AC the Great. If he did that, maybe it would have done a little bit more damage. Definitely would have killed the town center and killed off a bunch of houses, allowed Nullus to do a little bit more. But Squash is just too good, man. He's a very, very strong team game player, very, very strong Age Mythology player to boot. And this is the big thing that the chat wants to see. As we take a quick look at the economy tab, as it looks like TSM player attributed 8,044 resources and Squash only attributed 7,110 resources. So in the end, TSM player wins, but he did get attributed 876. So it's very even there in terms of total resources attributed. As we take a quick look at the resource tab and we look at how close this was, Squash, when he casts Rag, obviously takes a while to kick back into gear, does a lot of damage, but TSM player and Nullus have got tons of resources here. I mean, this is probably just all based on the Nullus factor being Gaia and having infinite food. Isn't that kind of right? No, TSM players got infinite resources. Anyways, GG, well played. If you guys enjoyed this game and enjoyed these team games, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.